Hare Krishna. Mm, Share great. More high floating controls. Okay, flow switch setup. All right, so let's begin with Mangalacharan prayers. We send the message to. Sorry for the delay. So let's begin with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Vidati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णपुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तस्थो हि अभद्राणि विदुनोति स्थितां नष्टप्रायशो भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी Hare Krishna, welcome all to the discussion of Canto 3, Chapter 6. And today we are going to start discussing from verse number 10 onwards. So far in chapter 6, which is titled by Srila Prabhupada as Creation of the Universal Form. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he titles or gives the title to this chapter as the fourth description of the universal form, because this is the fourth time the universal form is described. Uh, so how this chapter begin is Vidura actually meets Maitri Rishi and he asks various questions, of which one of the question was how the creation happens. Please explain to me in details how this creation happens. So uh, Maitri Rishi begins in this chapter explaining the development of the universal form, the gigantic universal form. So Lord, when he see that these demigods who are his parts and parcels, they are kala. These are the demigods, these are elemental demigods. These are created even before the universes are created. Because in the process of creation, first everything that is needed for the purpose of creation is created. And it starts with a very basic unit, which is the elements. Without the elements, existing, nothing can be moved forward. So first, the Lord creates the elements and the controller of these elements. So these are the controlling deities who are directly manifesting um, from Shirodaksha Vishnu himself. They are Kala. They are still living entities. They are not Vishnu Tattva. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains. They are not Vishnu Tattva. But they are pretty high in the stature, because as soon as they come into existence, they offer the beautiful prayers which we saw in chapter 5, towards the end of chapter 5. And why did they pray? So first they prayed for, of course, glorifying the Supreme Lord, but their main intention of prayers were because they want to help the Lord in the purpose of creation. They want to serve the Lord for the purpose of the Srishti Lila. So in the Srishti Lila, they have a very important role to play. However, they don't know what to do with whatever they have been given. So they offer prayers. So similarly, when we offer prayers while doing our service or before doing our service, then Krishna will actually guide us internally how to execute that prayer sincerely. Right? Sorry, how to perform that seva sincerely. He will guide us from within, or he will send us a guru who will guide us properly how to do seva. Without this mood of understanding whom we are serving, the importance is, if we understand and do something, then that becomes seva or bhaja. Bhaja dhatu explained by Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan towards the last verse of chapter 6. He explains that the concept of bhaja dhatu. Of course, Srila Jiva Goswami also explains in the Sandarbhas that bhaja dhatu, the bhaja means seva. Bhajan, when we say use the word bhajan, so bhaja dhatu is used, the root verb. And bhaja means seva, the mood of service. Right? So this understanding and performing service, there are two ways. One is to do activity without understanding, other is to do with the mood of understanding, with the mood of prayerful mood. In that way, when we serve the Supreme Lord, our service becomes very effective. Right? So just performing the service without understanding, is just like some other kind of act. Right? It will not give the true benefits, what we are looking for. Right? Here we are trying to please the Supreme Lord. So it's very important to have this understanding of what really is service means. And from time to time, we'll see Hare Krishna. Devotees offer prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. And most of the time, they are looking for some kind of service from the Supreme, some kind of blessings from the Supreme Lord, they can perform service. So we're talking about service. So yeah, that how it is important to have the understanding of what we are doing. Whenever we are doing anything, whatever seva we are doing, if we do it with proper mood, proper service mode, uh, under scriptural guidance, then that service becomes complete. Right? So, and our acharyas have stressed this point very lot. So there is a will of the Lord. The will of the Lord will anyway happen. But if we are fortunate, you're not seeing here. Oh, oh Krishna. What is happening? Let's see. No.
No, online I can see, bro. Online is available.
Online is available, right? Now in here the TV aa gaya. So we cannot see. I didn't see the backside. So the mood of the service is very important. So everything is happening by the will of the Lord. But unless the Lord wishes, the things are not going to happen. But here we see that in order to do even a service like this, they are offering prayers. And similarly, we see from time to time, Arjuna is also offering prayers in the first chapter, in the first canto. Mother Kunti is offering prayers. So like that, all throughout the Bhagavatam, you will see wonderful prayers by the devotees. And most of the time, they request for some or other kind of seva of the Supreme Lord. So continuing here, the Lord actually then takes charge and he guides them by performing various activities. So first he enters into each of the elements. Right? So he is Vibrat Shakti. This is the Vibrat Shakti. There are different kinds of Shaktis of the Supreme Lord. And this particular Shakti, which is Vibrat Shakti, is a potency to combine. So Lord enter into each and every elements with the potency to combine, and then the creation moves forward. So then all the things, one after other things are getting created. We saw that. And here we see that the sequence in which um, uh, Sri Maitreya Rishi explains is not a proper sequence. Our Acharya says that the proper sequence is given in Canto 2, chapter 5. That's a proper sequence. And that sequence is discussed here. Uh, where is that? Ninth. I think yeah, this is the exact sequence. So, Lord Karanadaksha Vishnu, remembering the prayers of the Devata, saw the creative function suspended, elements in unmixed state. And then what he said, he sends his Bibrat Shakti or cohesive energy, or it is also known as Kali. She is the controller of this, right? Mother Kali, Kali. So she is the controller of the time factor. And without time, nothing moves forward, right? So with his Bibdat Shakti or cohesive energy, which amalgamates all the elements and forms a golden universal eggs. So amalgamation, this process is more described in Sri Brahma Samhita. In Brahma Samhita, in the before the Govindam prayers, there's a lot of description of how the universe is getting created. So in that, this universe has layers, like layers of different elements. Starting with the topmost layer is the layer of Mahatattva, and then the other earth, water, fire, all these elements are there, and each layer is hundreds times more than the previous layers. Right? So like that, the layers are called. The golden universe eggs, like the fetus of the living being entities, reside for thousands celestial years in the Karnana ocean. So without any activity, I think it's like a fetus growing in mother's womb. It takes some time. So similarly here, thousands celestial years, all these fetus are lying around in the Karana ocean. And then Lord enters into each of these universe as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, right? And then gave them the life, right? And then from there, the Virat Purusha is manifested. So Virat Purusha is nothing but is the universal form or the universe itself. And this Virat Purusha is subdivided into 1, 10, and 3. What is 1? 1 is the Jiva Shakti. Right? The entire thing is done for one purpose. And the one purpose is to give the living entities an opportunity to go back to Godhead, right? But at the same time, the living entities have desire to enjoy in this material realm. So, Hare Krishna. Uh, So this Jiva Shakti is given consciousness. The Jiva Shakti all has awareness or consciousness. Originally, it is spiritual, but then it has to be given. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then, so then, but it is given a layer of consciousness which is material. It has to be given that, right? Otherwise, it will not be able to enjoy. The Jiva cannot enjoy. So for that, the consciousness which is given originally right in the beginning, that is pure consciousness. It is pure. The nature of consciousness is in Sattva Gun. Hare Krishna. Original nature, it's predominantly in the mode of Sattva. So this Mahatattva, portions of that Mahatattva is given to each and every living entity. And that portion which is residing among us, that is called as Chitta. So a portion of this is giving to the living entity. This is called as Chitta. But Chitta is nothing but where all our impressions are stored. And over the period of time, that Chitta becomes contaminated. As more and more material impressions are imprinted on the Chitta becomes materialized or it is becoming contaminated. So this is contaminated Chitta, or sometimes it is we use the word called samskara. And if you see the definition given by Bhagavan Patanjali, who is an incarnation of Ananta Shesh. So Patanjali defines yoga system as yoga means Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So the transformations which are happening in the chitta, we have to purify that. That is basically yoga. That's according to him the definition of yoga. Right? So impressions. Now, if you remember, really, just think about this: how our thoughts are processed. How our thought. Suddenly, some kind of thought will come in our mind, isn't it? Most of the time. Right? So these impressions are stored and it is popped up. Like Prabhupada gives the example of a lake, and in the lake, sometimes the lake is still and bubbles are coming up. Right? So these bubbles are nothing but this is a decomposed material which is at the bottom of the lake. They are coming up as some kind of methane gas or some kind of gas is coming up. So similarly, thoughts in our mind, they pop up. So who pops up that thoughts? So that is done by the controller deities of the mind. Right? They pop up those thoughts in our mind randomly based on our desires. Right? Randomly, you will see some thought come, right? While, especially during the chanting. Especially during the chanting, some kind of thoughts will come up, which is like 20, 30 years old. Right? Some songs will pop up in the mind. Right? So, or somebody insulted us, or somebody had said negative things about us. All these thoughts, they keep popping up. Right? So, this is how this chitta works. This is a contaminated consciousness. Right? This is chitta means it's a contaminated consciousness. Now, if you see over in this previous diagram, which we saw here, we use the word contaminated consciousness. It is a portion of Mahatattva. And also it is a part of Antahkaran. Antahkaran has four things: Chitta, false ego, right? Intelligence and mind. This all constitutes of Antahkaran. And the governing or the thing that is making it happen all the time is the prana. Prana is making the things move. Right? So all these things, which is the field of activities, is getting created one after another, right? So false ego, when we use the word false ego, is not only the identification which we have or the living entity uses in this material world, but anything needed to support that, right? For example, in order for false ego to exist within us, we need eyes, we need ears, we need mind, we need intelligence. Otherwise, how will we be able to express? How will a dog think he is a dog? How will a cat think he is a cat? How will a human being think I am a human being? Right? So this false identification, for this false identification to happen, we need the uh, paraphernalia we use. Like we used to use the word DT paraphernalia, right? So we need paraphernalias, and these are all that is getting created right in the beginning of the creation by the Supreme Lord Himself. After this creation happens, now He is going to. So the gross things are now created. Now He is going to assign this service to some or other living entities, and these are the demigods. That is what is coming in the next section. So today we are going to see. Last time we saw the prana and different kinds of prana, and we also talk about the five main pranas, and then there are other sub pranas which are upa pranas. These are upa pranas. These are the main pranas: prana, udana, samana, vayana, apana. And then there's upa prana which controls many activities in our body, like naga. It regulates burping. After eating, we burp.
This is from somewhere else or from Bhagavatam?
This is Prabhupada purport here.
Okay. I mean, organs and all those from chakras.
No, that is from somewhere else.
Yeah.
This part is from somewhere.
Correct, yeah.
But this part is all this part is from Prabhupada is giving here in the purport itself. Of course, I have written here. See 369, which is here only. But these are I think I got it from somewhere in online. Yeah.
Prabhu, sorry, I did not attend the last class, but I was trying to follow through your lecture. So in verse 7 and verse 9, there is the 110 and 3.
110 and 3, yes.
I was trying to understand that. Partly I think I got it, but it is repeated twice, like once in verse 7 and another one in verse 9. Could You spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes on that.
Yeah. So see, everything is getting universal creation is happening, right? So if principal subject things are created, then so in the creation process and subsequently everything is divided into three things: Adi Bhutik, Adhyatmik, and Adi Devik. So Adi Bhautik, right? Like everything is in three modes: सत्वगुण, रजोगुण, तमोगुण. सिमिलरली प्रभु आप ऐसा गला दुख जाओ, वहां ऊपर बैठ जाओ.
ठीक है,
हाँ?
आपको भी देखना है, हमको भी वहाँ भी
नहीं, वहां से भी देख सकते. सीरियसली वहां बैठ जाओ ऊपर. तो you need all these things for functioning of the living entity has to function. So they need all these things. So they need adi bhautik things which are elements. Bhautika means elements. Bhuta, right? So these are elements. Adhyatmik. ADH. Adhyatmik spelling is wrong, but Adhyatmik is basically the living entities in this case itself, because the living entity itself is going to use these elements, and you need the third, which is the controlling factor, which is the right, which is the controller. Right. So there is a Kriya Shakti and then there is a Jnana Shakti. Right. Now this is given more details in the Brahma Samhita. Kriya Shakti means the energy that is required to perform any activity. That is Kriya Shakti. But then there is a Jnana, there is a knowledge required to do that also. I want to enjoy. In order to enjoy, my mind and intelligence has to work together to figure out how will I enjoy. Right? Let's say I like eating foods. So then I'll try different varieties of life. In these days, YouTube, you go, there's so many varieties of people are coming up with different ideas, and some of them are really nice. The way they present the dish, they cook. And we can use in Krishna's service. Who is giving them the intelligence? So ultimately, it's a desire to enjoy some nice dessert or nice sabji or nice something like that. So you need the elements, you need the intelligence, and you have to have the desire. And then somebody has to grant you the permission to do that, right? So similarly over here, there are 1, 10, and 3, right? So 1 means the consciousness has to be given, material consciousness has to, so that is the Jnana Shakti. And then how that will be carried out, without life air, nothing works, right? Like when person dies, it's said that pran chale gaya. So within that body also, when we are working, we are moving the hands, we are digesting food, we are walking, we are running, we are sleeping. For all this, life air is required. So that is governed by this 10 different life air. So this is getting created. Consciousness is given, which is the contaminated consciousness. And now the identification has to be there. The
consciousness is given, which is the contaminated consciousness.
correct.
So जब beginning होता है तो consciousness साफ होनी चाहिए.
साफ होनी चाहिए.
And then धीरे धीरे contaminate होती है. So
Correct.
like after many births, it will be the contaminated consciousness which will be passed on
Yes.
after many births.
Right. No, yeah, exactly. So whatever contamination we got in this life,
We are keeping it.
keeping it. And the example is the example of Jaidi Savya. I think if you remember the example which I gave, Jaidi Savya was a sage. And Avatya Muni, there are 2 sages. So Jaidi Savya was a sage who could remember
Yes, remember. Brahma ki
la
lifetime.
10 lifetimes of Brahma.
And he said it was all painful.
It was all painful, right? Remember that example? So Avatya Muni came and asked because he remembered he had access to the entire consciousness. So nothing is erased. The way you have to understand is it's like that moon example. If you remember the moon example I gave, there is a lake and then there is a moon and then there is a beam of moon falling on the lake and only particular portion of that lake is eliminated, right? Particular portion, of course, the lake is mostly dirty lake, so everything is dirty, but you can only see a certain part of it. So similarly, in this lifetime, I can only access a certain uh, portion of my chitta based on my previous karma. But based on the previous karma, we got the body, right? We got this body because of the previous karma, based on the previous desire, right? Desire and deserve. We got this. ये नहीं चलता है लोगों को. ओ चला. Oh, good.
ट्रांसेंडेंटल हमें ना
हाँ, हम लोग से नहीं चल रहा.
ये मटेरियल से नहीं चलता.
So far clear? So what is this three? Then there are three types of identification. One identification is identifying yourself with body and mind. That is adhyatmika identification. Adi Bhautika means you identify yourself as a product. Like Prabhupada uses the word ahamkar. I am that car. Right? Because I identify myself with car. One time Prabhupada was going on Howrah Bridge. In this class he mentions it. So he was driving with somebody, the driver was driving, and there was a thela wala. You know what is thela? The thela wala. The car driver is coming out and say, "Hey thela, move."
कलकत्ता में ऐसे ही बोलते
हाँ, hey thela.
हैं. ऐसे ही बोलते हैं.
So that guy is a thela and I am a car. That is how I identify myself, because I am sitting in the car. I identify myself with the car, and I think, oh, this, or I sit in a better car. Then I said, okay, I am better car than you. Right? So that is the identification with material products. Adi Devika is identification as a servant of the Lord. So this 1, 10, and 3, these are three different kind of energies that are created, which helps the living entity to define itself or identify itself and govern itself in this material realm. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So now,
But this is also repeated again in verse 9 as well.
yeah. So it's the same thing. Yeah. The judgment universal form is represented by 3, 10, and 1. The same thing.
But it's same,
Yeah,
same,
yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically same thing, but it's represented, it's explained in a different way. And it is giving the same he is the dynamic force of all movements by 10 kinds of life energy, because we looked about life energy, right? Okay, so like that. Okay, so now we see the 10th verse, and now let's read the verse together. Smaran Visva Sarjam Iso Visva Vigna Apitam Adokshaja Virajam Atpatsvena Tejasa Isam Vivartyate. The Supreme Lord is the super soul of all the demigods entrusted with the task of constructing the cosmic manifestation. Being thus prayed by the demigod, he thought to himself that, and thus manifested the gigantic form for their understanding. So this is, where is this happening? This is happening. This is happening where? Again, read it. The Supreme Lord is the super soul of all the demigods, entrusted with the task of constructing the cosmic manifestation. Being thus prayed by the demigods, he thought to himself and thus manifested the gigantic form for their understanding. So he is manifesting Virat Rupa now. So who is manifesting Virat Rupa? Virat Rupa is within the universe. Right? So it is being manifested by Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So, see, when we read Bhagavat, these are small details we need to pay attention to. That actually Garbhodakshay Vishnu is expansion of whom? Right? There is the same Karanabakshay Vishnu, he is expanding himself as Garbhodakshay Vishnu within each universe. So sometimes interchangeably, like you will see later on, that these are the like it is spread by Maitreya Rishi towards the end of the chapter, that these are the activities. Who can understand the activities of Yogamaya? Actually, it is not in the material creation he's saying. He's explaining the Virat Rupa and all the details, and then he's saying it is so huge, it's very difficult to explain. Who can understand who can understand how Yogamaya is creating such a wonderful thing? But actually, it's not done by Yogamaya. It is done by Mahamaya. Yogamaya activities is in the spiritual realm. So interchangeably, they use the term. So there is a term, and this term, to understand this is
तो क्रिएशन है कृष्णा से रिलेटेड है, तो योगा माया ही होगा। माया माया तो हमारे साथ काम करेंगे मतलब, बट कृष्णा के साथ तो योगा माया ही रहेंगे।
first is in the material realm, there is no Yogamaya. Of course, it's there in the interaction with the devotees when Krishna comes, so Yogamaya comes, but it is generally with the interaction with the pure devotees. In material realm, everything is governed by Mahamaya. So
कृष्णा के पास टाइम्स जैसे ये है
pastime में तो Yogamaya.
नहीं, बट जैसे ये भी कृष्णा का पास टाइम ही है,
हाँ।
डेवलपिंग यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म, तो इसमें महामाया क्यों आएंगे फिर?
Because Yogamaya doesn't see, the purpose of Yogamaya is generally for bewildering the devotees for the purpose of relation. This is explained in the second canto, if you remember. In the second canto, we studied in the Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam, where Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained what is the role of Yogamaya, what is the role of Mahamaya. Where he explains in details that Yogamaya, the purpose of Yogamaya is to bewilder the consciousness of the pure devotees, so that they forget about Krishna. What is that ninth chapter?
35,
Hmm.
34, 35 verses.
Yeah, I think I might have here. Rite Arthe Ye Pratiyeta, right? One verse. So, but I'll show you the verse. 2, chapter 9, verse.
वो जब आपने इतने सारे वर्जन्स बनाए हुए हैं, जैसे 13 वर्जन्स हैं, तो why you have not deleted the above 12? Why not just keep the 13 अगर that has all the updated information?
Lazy.
नहीं, but वो delete ही करने हैं, right? If
I
it's
know,
all
I know.
different.
इनको दे दो काम,
Uh,
12 डिलीट करेंगे माता जी,
uh,
इनको मत देना, 13 डिलीट कर ओरिजिनल डिलीट।
ये अपना मेल बॉक्स भी बिल्कुल क्लीन एकदम, कुछ भी मेल जरूरत नहीं है,
हाँ।
delete।
yeah, no, that is very good actually. But I am lazy actually.
मैं भी बिल्कुल ले दूँ।
इनकी तो 5,100 emails हैं, never even send him a mail. He will not read it.
See, this is the verse. Chatushloki 2, right? So, Mahamaya, this is Yatha Tama, Yatha Abhasa. Abhasa means light. As light reveals and darkness hides, right? That's a concept. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explaining. As light reveals things and darkness hides things. Similarly, Mahamaya reveals things and Mahamaya hides things. Similarly, Yogamaya reveals things, Yogamaya hides things. तो क्या चीज Yogamaya? So this is a wonderful example. So Mahamaya hides things by the concept of pradhan and avidya. Right? So various objects are created by pradhan, right? And this avidya shakti of Mahamaya, and here the term Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is using is Vikshep Atmika. But then other terms with other places it's used is Prakshep Atmika. So these are two Shaktis of Mahamaya. So example, very nice example given by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Just focus here, don't look here. Then you can look. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, he explains wonderful examples. He says, as soon as we go into a movie theater, right? We are going from outside, we go into a movie theater. तो सबसे पहले क्या होता है? They shut down the lights. They shut down the light, right? And then what they do, they project something on the screen. So he's saying that shutting down of the light is like avarnatmika shakti. If you are entering from one arena to other, first they shut down the light, means बाहर का चीज बंद हो गया, यहाँ पे अंधेरा हो गया. Now they are giving you a new projection. So now you are seeing a new thing. So shutting down the light means you cutting off your relationship with the Supreme Lord in the material world, and giving a picture is, or showing a new picture is like giving you a new identification. So first you cut the relationship with Krishna, that is Avarnatmika Shakti. An easy way to remember is our A means start with Avarnatmika, and then P means Prakshepatmika or Vikshepatmika. Both are same. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes as Vishyetatmika. So this is the role of Maya Devi. And the purpose is to fulfill the desires of the living entity, like this one. Right? Purpose is what? To fulfill the desires of living entity to enjoy separate from Krishna, because they want to enjoy separate from Krishna. So she hides things. What does she hide? She hides our relationship with Krishna. So first she gives a covering that we don't remember Krishna. Now she will give us a new identity. I am this person, I am this, that, and so many. So these are false ego. So this is the role of Mahamaya. But to reveal things now, she will actually, those who are interested, for them, she will give us also knowledge. And that knowledge is also, even Vidya is given by her. Avidya is given by her, as well as Vidya is given by her. But to the max capacity that Vidya can go is the bliss of Brahman. Beyond that, you need a devotee. So this is the role of Mahamaya. Similarly, there is Yogamaya. This is beyond three modes. So what is the purpose of Yogamaya? She hides some things. What is she hiding? Krishna is not Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is like you and me. The devotees, they think like Krishna like us only. But when they are in trouble, they will shout, "Hey Krishna, please protect." But otherwise, they will fight with him, they will defeat him. So like that. So they hide this supreme nature. And the purpose is to enhance the sweetness of the pastimes of Krishna with his devotees. And she reveals based on whatever is needed, based on the pastime that is happening, she reveals certain things. So Yogamaya is beyond three modes. Mahamaya is within the realm of three modes. Just as the light hides things, and light hides the things, or light reveals the things, similarly Mahamaya also hides things and she reveals things. Similarly Yogamaya hides things and reveals things. So this is a wonderful explanation of the second Chaturshloki given by
प्रभु ये आपने समझाया, आप दोबारा गए, सब ठीक है, but this still does not answer the question कि महामाया कृष्णा के पास टाइम्स में मतलब जो यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म का पास टाइम है उसको महामाया मतलब कर रहे हैं, नॉट योगमाया.
not you. See, Rama Devi expands as Durga Devi, right? And then she performs the helps in all the creation pastimes.
That's why it says Kali.
That's why Kali is a time factor. One of the energies, Kali Devi. Yeah, correct. Okay, so coming back to this.
Prabhu, this coming back to this verse 10 says, Paramdaksha Vishnu remembering the prayers of the Devtas. But the Devtas are still not there.
The devatas are those elemental devatas, right? In the beginning, they made the prayer in the last chapter.
But the creation has not yet completed or even started.
No, so this chapter begin with the previous chapter ended with the prayers of the elemental demigod, if you remember.
Yes.
Those are elemental demigods. So there are devatas at various levels.
Okay.
They are devatas at the level of before the universe is created.
But are they part of the
Creation.
material world,
Material world, yeah.
elemental devatas?
Yeah.
So the creation has already begun there.
Creation has begun. Creation, I mean, we saw this sequence, right? Karanadaksha Vishnu, remembering the prayers of the devatas, saw that the creative function is suspended. Elements in unmixed state. So first thing is the elements are created in the creation, but the elements, they do not work on their own. So elements and elemental demigods, controller of the elements, are created. Both are created. Now these elemental demigods are in charge of this element. For example, there is an earth element, there is a water element, there is a fire element, there is an ether element.
Yes.
Universes are not there. It's all empty, blank. Only the elements are created. Along with that, the controllers are created. But now they have to work together to make the manifestation. Like for example, before this house was created, it was all a barren land. So some contractor, he got all the stuff. He got nails, he got wood, he got everything. Now let's say he doesn't know how to create. So somebody has to direct them. So then Krishna directs them, right? So these are elemental demigods and they pray, which is the last part of chapter 5. Then the prayers. And after the prayers, what happens is that the Lord sends his cohesive energy. The energy which to combine, he sends his cohesive energy, which actually amalgamates all the elements. Meaning, this cohesive energy helps us. The universe is also there, and there are universal layers created. So, how these layers are formed? First, they need to work together in order to form a layer. It has to work together. Like, for example, this table is there. So, in the table, there is fire. Of course, this is wood, but in the wood, there is fire. Because if you ignite this table, after some time, if enough heat is there, it will catch fire. If the fire element is not there in a small proportion, it will not catch fire. It also has water in a subtle form. So in each of the objects which we see, there is water, there is fire, there is earth, there is space. Means these are all working together. This is called as the amalgamation, right? And then the universe is formed, and then they are sitting there for 1000 years. Then Garbhodaksha and Vishnu enters into each of these universe, and then it gives life. And basically, then he creates all this Shakti of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He creates this consciousness, the life airs, and identifications. These are everything to be given, right, based on the previous desire. Right? So now it is being said over here that Karanadaksha Vishnu is actually remembering the prayers of Devata manifested the Virat Rupa. So what I was trying to explain is that it is not Karanadaksha Vishnu here. It is actually Garbhodaksha Vishnu. But we need to understand this concept, and I earlier explained that there is a concept of Amsi and Amsa. Amsi is the source, right? And Amsa is the expansion. So Krishna is the source of all the incarnations, right? 1:3:28. Ete cha Amsa kala pungsha Krishnastu Bhagavan. So he is the source of every. So if you see one verse from Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya cha aham Sarvasya cha aham Didi Sanne Vishnu. What is the meaning of that verse? Krishna is sitting, I am sitting in everyone's heart. So my question is Krishna sitting in everyone's heart?
Paramatma is
Paramatma. But Krishna is saying, I am sitting in everyone.
because he is not differentiating himself.
Yeah. So similarly over here, Karnadaksha, Vishnu, Garbhodaksha, there is no differentiation like that. Right? Even after the Rasalila pastime, the Rasa Panchadhyaya, the last verse, it is said that whoever hears this wonderful is Rasa Panchadhyaya. So all Rasalila pastime. So over here, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that whoever hears and meditates upon this Rasa pastime of Supreme Lord, he gets the blessings of Lord Vishnu. Meaning Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna is not differentiated over there. Similarly, Brahman and other kind of many places you will see that Brahman and personal liberation in the Dham or in the Vaikuntha or in Goloka, they are not differentiated by the acharyas. So here, saying that Lord Karnadaksha Vishnu remembering is as good as saying that it is God, Lord Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So the context we need to understand. In what context is this spoken? Because Garbhodaksha Vishnu himself is actually Karnadaksha Vishnu. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense because Karnadaksha, this happened right in the beginning, isn't it? After that, all the creation is explained. But then now he is saying about Virat Rupa, but now he is using the term Karnadaksha Vishnu. So we need to understand that Garbhodaksha Vishnu is actually Karnadaksha Vishnu who has expanded into every universe. So we must read like that. Right? Make sense? Okay. So don't get stuck by the word Karnadaksha Vishnu. It's actually Garbhodaksha Vishnu. But just as Krishna is saying, I am sitting in everyone's heart. Actually, it is Paramatma sitting in everyone's heart. So here the cause and effect are explained. So Prabhupada in the purport, he says that whenever or when any material object displays development, it must be understood that there is a spiritual soul within that manifestation. Without spirit, matter cannot expand. This is the fundamental concept. A spirit is required for matter to expand. Right? Our body came into existence because there is a spirit soul. If the spirit soul leaves this body, the body will start decomposing. Bacteria will start eating. So we are, because of our presence, the consciousness and everything is there. As the materialist cannot find soul, the super soul within the heart, similarly, for want of sufficient knowledge, they cannot see the supreme soul is the cause of the universe. Basically, they cannot see the supreme Lord is behind everything. The Lord is therefore described in the Vedic language as Avan Manasa Gochara, beyond the conception of words and mind. And then there is an analogy of the frog in the well is given. This is a very common analogy, is used in this chapter multiple times, where there is a frog in the well which tries to identify what is the size of, it knows everything about the well, but some frog which went outside and came back in explained that there is a ocean which is a Pacific Ocean or whatever ocean he said, and it is huge. So then the frog is thinking in terms of how much big it is. Is it 10 times the bigger than this well? Is it 100 times? It is 1,000 times? It is million times? But you cannot compare a well with a Pacific Ocean. It's unlimited in terms of wealth. So similarly, the material knowledge give us only a certain perspective, and it's very difficult, even though we may be expert in material science and understand everything about matter. However, understanding the creation of this universe and beyond is extremely difficult. So how to know this? Prabhupada says towards the end, the Lord can reveal himself only to a person who is submissive and who engage in his transcendental loving service. By bhakti, one can approach the Supreme Lord, and when Lord is happy with our service, he can actually reveal everything. He can show how, what are the proof? He actually showed Lord Brahma right in the beginning of the creation. Before the Chatushloki, he gives the entire visit of the Vaikuntha Dham, the Goloka Dham, he sees everything. And then Brahmaji offers these prayers, beautiful prayers. So the demigod the controlling elements and the ingredients of the universal affair prayed to the Lord for guidance and thus manifested his gigantic form, and he did it as a request to Arjuna. He did at the request of Arjuna. So when Arjuna also asked, Krishna showed him everything, but he gave him a divine vision. Right? With normal eyes, you cannot say this. The interesting thing is, at the end of chapter 11, this question is being asked: is this vision superior to the vision Arjuna has? What is your thought process?
क्या मतलब vision
हाँ.
to the vision Arjuna has, like
Correct,
normal
हाँ.
vision is seeing Krishna,
Seeing Krishna.
and then the another
Then-
vision is seeing the universal form.
Form, right.
But देखने में तो लगता है कृष्णा का 200 form is superior, but then अगर वो superior है तो why would Krishna even get the divine eyes?
Yeah, but so what is your
Yeah.
opinion? What is your thought? What is Acharya's opinion? What do you remember reading chapter 11?
अच्छा, इसको फिर-
So Krishna says towards the end of chapter 11 that this vision, seeing me, is Sudur Darshan. So seeing Krishna is Sudur Darshan. Means it's a
Normal 100 form is Sudodarshan.
compared to this is a lower form what Arjuna saw. He saw the universal form is a lower form. But seeing Krishna's 200 form is a higher form.
But then why Krishna is giving divine?
He gave a lower vision actually.
Okay.
It is divine,
हाँ,
but it's lower.
okay. Because Arjuna was already at a very
High level, yeah. Or whoever saw Krishna, they were and who understood Krishna, they were at a very high level.
फिर प्रभु अगर हम इस बात को मानते हैं, अगर ये बात मतलब माननी चाहिए, बट प्रॉब्लम ये है कि दुर्योधन ने भी तो देखा, शिशुपाल ने भी तो देखा कृष्णा को, बट they were not favorable and
They were
didn't
not favorable,
understand,
yeah.
they didn't understand. But then how is this higher? कि मतलब higher होते हुए
हाँ,
दुर्योधन
correct.
and शिशुपाल were watching.
So they were just watching, whatever they were seeing was a kind of material thing, because Krishna can present himself, though he is Supreme Lord. If we are not favorable, he will present to us like that. Like we have a material vision about our spiritual masters.
Hmm.
But if you really think, they are associates of Srila Prabhupada. They are associates of Srila Prabhupada, they are initiated when they are been given association of Srila Prabhupada. Who is Srila Prabhupada? Closest to Krishna. Yeah. So you see, what is our vision when we see our groups?
बिल्कुल नहीं समझ में आता,
हाँ.
मतलब इसको तो रोज रोज
So it's like I a lot of time think my vision is like Duryodhana's vision when I see Guru Maharaj. It's like that. So coming to the 11th verse. So now 11 to 26 is the manifestation of different devatas from the universal form. So far we have seen that what was the purpose of the explaining the Virat Rupa in Canto 2, right? So there were different purposes, right? Canto 2, chapter 1 was the first time the Virat Rupa was explained. Right? Now, what was the purpose? So the purpose was to explain that this Virat Rupa is the object of meditation for the neophyte yogis. This was the purpose. It's an object of meditation for the neophytes. Remember, somebody who is practicing Ashtanga Yoga,
yes,
somebody is
Second
practicing,
chapter, yeah.
and by the fourth stage, Yam Niyam Asana Pranayam, and then next is Pratyahar. So they still have desires. So what they should do? They should meditate upon the Virat Purusha or Virat Rupa. And then the description, how does Virat Rupa looks like? Then all the description was given. So that was the first time Virat Rupa was explained. Second time Virat Rupa was explained was to establish that Garbhodaksha Vishnu is the material cause of the universe. Anything matter which we see is actually coming from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He is a material cause. And then this Purusha Sukta prayers were chanted. Chapter number 6 of Canto 2, Purusha Sukta prayers. So if we read Purusha Sukta prayers, all the glorifications of the Purusha Sukta prayers is indicating the person who is indicated in the Purusha Sukta is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And his glories are sung in relation to that he is the material cause of the universe. And who is actually singing? These Purushukta prayers are very famous, and mostly it is sung by the Devatas in the higher realm. And in here, till date, in the South India, Purushukta prayers are very, very famous. In Sri Sampradaya, they regularly chant these mantras, Purushukta prayers. Third time was Canto 2, Chapter 10. The Virat Rupa was explained. And the purpose of explaining this Virat Rupa for the third time is that the desire, our desire creates our next gross body. Right? Our desires, to whatever desires we have to enjoy, it manifests in the form of a next gross body which we are going to create. Right? So that desire is so powerful. So here, as the desire, Garbhodaksha Vishnu desires different things, right? It creates the body according to that. Similarly, when the living entities, they have a particular desire, they will get that kind of form. This makes sense? No? Is it confusing? Should I make it more simpler? Okay. Living entities, why do they come in this world?
To enjoy
Right. Who is facilitating?
Krishna.
Right. So whatever desires we have, we should get appropriate bodies. Right? So that facilitation is given by whom? Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Whatever we desire, according to that, we'll get a next body. So that is explained in the third description of the universal form. Now in the fourth one, here, again, there are more descriptions of universal form going to come.
प्रभु फिर आप ये उसको थर्ड फोर्थ बता अच्छा वो कैंटो 2 था मैंने कहा चैप्टर सीक्वेंस में नहीं है तो वो थर्ड वाला चैप्टर 15 था राइट
नहीं नहीं
सेकंड कैंटो में था वो
हाँ सेकंड कैंटो
हाँ तो दिस इज थर्ड कैंटो राइट
करेक्ट दिस इज सेकंड कैंटो चैप्टर 1 वर्स
हाँ नहीं सीक्वेंस में है
सीक्वेंस में या
chapter 1 chapter 5 and then chapter 10 and then
Chapter-
third canto chapter
6.
chapter 6 okay
So this is the fourth description of the universal form. Vishwanath Thakur gives the title of this chapter as fourth description of the universal form. So what is the purpose? The purpose is to explain the manifestation of different devatas from the universal form. How different devatas manifested and what is their role is explained in the verse 12 to 26. So here is the template in which this universal form will be explained. Right? How this is happening, this is the template. Okay. So, but this is little difficult to understand. So we'll go to the example first directly and then we'll come back to that. Okay. So universal form is a form like us in the sense Garbhodaksha Vishnu has his form. But the universal form is getting created right now. Right? So from who is creating this? Garbhodaksha Vishnu is creating. Right? So the gross organ is created first. The first gross organ which is created is mouth. Right? So first thing that is created in the universal form is the gross organ. Think like this: mouth, eyes, all these things will be first created. Then its function. What is the function of mouth? Eating. Correct? And then there will be a demigod eating or speaking, both are there. So some things have multiple. So here the mouth is twice. And their function is created. Right? And then there is a controlling deity which is created. and then there is a purpose for which it is created, right? So for example, to taste everything, this is a purpose, this is a goal. To taste everything, you require a talu, or mouth has a top part, this is palate, right? A talu is there required, right? And then you need a tongue, so tongue is created, and then you need a controller, which is the Varuna, who is controlling the the mouth, or the function of eating or tasting everything. He's in charge of that. Yeah. So in mouth there are two deities. Yeah. In mouth there are two deities because there are two different functions. Similarly, on skin there are two deities. Correct. So this is the description which is given here, just to give an idea. Okay, now you go through this, okay, slowly. So the gross organ manifests in the Virat Rupa. So Virat Rupa is getting created, assume like that. So first the gross organ is getting created. So gross organ is mouth, right? And then sense devata, because mouth, without the controller of the mouth, it will not function. So you need a controller. So sense devata, which is Adi Daiva, right? Along with the subtle sense organ, which is Adhyatma, enters within it, right? And then finally the sense object or the activity, which is Adibhuta, is created. So there are two Adibhutas. One is the gross organ and the object of the senses. This is also Adibhuta. So this is the sequence in which the entire thing is getting created, one after another, right? Now we can quickly go through this. So again, I'll read this. These verses describes when the different location, like for example, mouth, are generated in the universal form. So now who is getting created? Not the living entities. First, the universal form will be created. And on the basis of the template of that, all the living entities will have their appropriate body, which will come later. So in this verse describes when the different location, for example, mouth, are generated in the universal form, which presiding deities, for example, Agni, for mouth, the presiding deities is Agni, will reside there along with its sense organ, which is voice. Right? And what is the sense object or action of that organ? What is mouth required for purpose of expressing oneself? So if we want to speak, if I want to express something through words, then I need the mouth. And I need the functioning of the mouth. And I need the help of the Devata. Who is the controlling deities? Agni Dev. So if I have problem with speech, we offer prayers to Agni Dev. So like that. Okay, so let's read the 12th verse. Tasyagnir asyam nirbhinnam lokapala avisatpadam vachaswam sena vaktavyam yayaso pratipadyate. Agni or heat separated from the mouth, and all the directors of material affairs entered into their respective position. By that energy, the living entity expressed himself in words. So here one example is there. But again, we have to remember this is all happening under the direction of whom? Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is empowering this universal form to manifest. It has not manifested yet. So he is, by his vision or by his glance, things are getting created. The first thing that gets created is the mouth. And then the eyes and everything gets created subsequently. But the first thing that is created is mouth. And the function of the mouth is speech or voice. And who is the controller there is Agni Dev. The mouth of the gigantic universal form of the Lord is the source of speaking power. The director of the fire element is the controlling deities or the Adi Deva. The speech delivered are Adhyatma or bodily functions, and the subject matters of the speeches is material production or Adibhuta principle. So again, going back to the basics, that what is the size of the soul?
दो
One
different
tenth.
sizes हैं, thumb size,
तो सुपर सोल है,
super soul,
सोल
1/10,
Yeah.
1/10 or 100,000.
1/10,000. केशाग्र सतधागस्य सतधा कल्पितस्य च. So you take a hair, you divide it into 100 and take one part again divided into 100. So 1/10,000 the tip of the hair. That is the size of the soul. So the only thing that soul can do is desire. Only thing we can do as a soul is we desire. And everything rest is performed by the devatas. And that's what we are learning here. That I can desire to speak, but that speech is manifested by the help of devatas. So every function of our body is like that. When we eat, then we forget, and digestion happens on its own, isn't it? So there are two things. One is we desire, but the next thing is we deserve. So this deserve is based on our karma. I can have desire, I want to be president of United States, but do I deserve to be president? No, because there are many qualifications required. The qualification is that you have to be born as an American or something like that. So there are many qualifications. Plus, there are other things required, other factors. This. So because I don't deserve, I will not get it. So based on the karma, some of the desires will be fulfilled, some of them are not fulfilled. Right? But that desire which is unfulfilled will remain in our desire quota.
Quota.
And we will get the next body on the basis of that. Unless we purify our desires. Right. So this is what is going on. So again here from I have put down the verses number over here. In the 12th verse is talking about mouth. In the 13th verse is talking about the palate. 14th verse nostril and so on. So these are the various functions which you see, and we do all these functions actually every day, right? So to taste everything, we need a palate. To smell aroma, we need nostrils. To see various forms, we need eyes. To realize the knowledge of touch, we need skin, charma. Right? To hear different sounds, we need ears. And then there is itching and happiness. Itching and happiness due to touch. Right? So it's very interesting. Itching is, happiness due to touch, right? So of opposites.
Teaching की नजर.
Yeah, last one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So itching and happiness due to touch, sex pleasure to be enjoyed. All these things are there. So along with the sense object, the object of the senses, along with that, the senses are also required, or the gross organ is also required, right? So all these are created: skin, ears, gross skin, eyes, right? Evacuating channels, right?
प्रभु ये trees personified क्या है?
हाँ, so trees का देवता है, who is controlling the trees.
हाँ?
Yeah,
ट्री के देवता है,
हाँ?
वो इसके हेयर्स को कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं.
हमारे hairs को भी कंट्रोल करता है.
अच्छा.
He has multiple functions.
विजिट में नहीं जाने
हाँ?
विजिट में नहीं जाने वहाँ ट्रीज नहीं रहता है
हाँ,
Pray नहीं किया trees को.
हम पे नाराज है.
नाराज है. वो देवता.
देवता हम पे नाराज.
ट्री से अपने सामने
वैसे काफी डिवोटीज से नाराज है.
एक एग्जैक्ट संस्कृत वर्ड क्या दिया था
हाँ,
ट्रीज
तो
के लिए
ट्रीज के लिए
वसु
ट्रीज के लिए द देवता नेम
हाँ कोई कंट्रोलिंग
हाँ अभी आएगा, हम लोग देखते हैं. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग अ हाईलाइट व्हाट इज कमिंग. So each verses are giving, different descriptions like this. Okay, let's quickly read. Nirbhinnatalu varuno lokapala avishadhare diva anachasam yaya saukati padyate
जिह्वा
jiva. When the palette of the gigantic form were separately manifested, Varuna, the director of the water in the planetary system, entered therein. And thus the living entity has the facility to taste everything in his tongue. Now, if our tongue doesn't have the water, it will not be able to taste anything. By the way.
वरुण
So Varuna there is very important to taste everything, required to taste. So here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, the universal form is called as Harehe. The word Harehe is used. Harehe, the Lord. Here. कहाँ है इसमें?
आविशत हरे
Avishat Hare, yes. This one.
आविशत हरे आविशत
Avishat Hare. The universal form is called as Lord or Hare because the universal form is meditated upon as the Lord. Where is he meditated upon as the Lord?
universal
mind
form
or
is in
in
the
the
mind,
heart?
No, it is in the mind only, but by whom? Sorry.
Jnanis, the yogis,
Yogis.
Yeah.
Which yogis?
specifically the jnana yogis.
Dhyana yogis, right?
Jnana is Paramatma.
हाँ,
Jnana.
Jnana yogis. Yeah. So, but we just studied, right? I mean, the first.
We're not talking about the yogis here, right? We are only talking about the devtas and the.
Where is meditated? The question is.
Yeah. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that the universal form is called as Hari, Lord Hari, is compared to Hari, because the universal form is meditated as the Lord. By whom? That's my question.
अच्छा वो second canto
हाँ,
yogis, yeah,
yogis,
okay.
right?
Yeah, जिनकी desires हैं,
हाँ,
they
जिनकी
take
desire.
तो
So they meditate upon him, right? So therefore, these yogis are like as be first description of. Basically, this is the first description of
Virat Rupa.
Virat Rupa. निर्भिन्ने अस्विनौ नासे विष्णोरविष्टं पदं क्रियणेन अंशेन गन्धस्य प्रतिपत्तिर्यतो भावे. When the Lord's two nostrils manifested themselves, the dual Ashwini Kumaras entered them in their proper position, and because of this, the living entities can smell the aromas of everything. So Ashwini Kumaras are actually allowing us to smell nicely. Fragrance. Nirbin Akshinitasте Lokapala Avasvidu Chakshusha Amshena Rupanam Pratipatte Yatodhavit.
Eyesight.
Therefore, the two eyes of the gigantic form of the Lord were separately manifested. The sun, the director of the light, entered them with the partial representation of eyesight, and thus the living entities have vision of forms.
I don't know. जो पहले बन गए यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म अब ये कह रहे हैं कि उनकी आईज सेपरेटली मैनिफेस्टेड. यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म से आईज दोबारा मैनिफेस्ट हो रही है, नॉस्ट्रिल दोबारा मैनिफेस्ट हो रहे हैं या यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म में ही वो अपीयर हो रहे हैं?
ये सब यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म में अपीयर हो रहे हैं.
तो यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म क्या हुआ जब तक वो अपीयर नहीं थे? तो फिर
था नहीं ना, अभी तो फर्स्ट टाइम क्रिएशन हो रहा है.
अभी यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म का धीरे धीरे बन रहा है.
हाँ,
मतलब गर्भोदक्षा
विष्णु से. हाँ, वो पिक्चर दिखाया था ना मैंने.
नहीं
फर्स्ट पिक्चर दिखाया, राइट? ये वाला.
मैं समझ गई वो डिफरेंट बेस्ड पे अलग. अच्छा
ये एम्प्टी है. Just to give an idea, universal form is getting created. This is the first thing that gets created, and subsequently many other things get created, which we are studying right now.
मतलब ह्यूमन एनाटॉमी अभी कुछ साल पहले ही मतलब लोगों ने डिस्कवर किया है, और ये वेदास में मतलब
हाँ, ये सब
शुरू से ही है.
ये सब टाइज आर हो गया, राइट? हाँ, पहले से ही है.
इसी कैंटो में Kapil Dev explains how from seed to fetus to birth happens. At each stage he describes in this canto.
Chalo, next. Nirbhinnasya charmani lokapalo aniloksha pranena amsena samprasam yena so pratipadyate. When there was a manifestation of the skin separated from the gigantic form, Anila, the deity directing the wind, entered the partial touch, and thus the living entities can realize tactical knowledge. Says Srila Vishwanath Thakur says, Pranena refers to the skin sense organ which spreads over the body like a prana.
10 meter.
So prana, because of prana, we can experience everything around. It's required. Huh?
Because it's only elements.
Elements, yeah. So prana is required for everything. Okay. Karnavasya vinirbanno dishyam svavishnu disha sutrenam sena sabdasya siddhim yena prapadite. When the ears of the gigantic form became manifested, all the controlling deities of the directions entered into them with the hearing principle, by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound. Now, it's a very interesting because we hear in all directions, right? Hearing is the not like यहाँ से आ रहा है, यहाँ नीचे से भी आएगा तो पता चलेगा, यहाँ से आएगा वहां से, like surround sound. So Devatas are the controllers of all the directions. There are 10 directions. Dig Devatas are controller of 10 directions. They are in control, charge of the ear. Ear, the most important instrument. The ear is the most important instrument in the body of the living entity. Sound is the most important medium for carrying message of distance and unknown things. The perfection of all sound or knowledge enters through the ear and makes one's life perfect. And the sound is the only thing, when we are in deep sleep, that's the only thing that can wake us up, unless I keep like 10 alarms. So, but generally, people keep like 1 or 2 alarm and they can hear.
आप अलार्म से नहीं उठते हो?
बहुत मुश्किल से.
अरे बाबा, संदीप का भी यही है, पूरा डर उठ जाएगा, वो नहीं उठेंगे, मैं कहती हूँ लगा काम से उठना नहीं. I never keep an alarm.
The entire Vedic system of knowledge is received by oral reception only. And thus sound is the most important source of knowledge. Yeah, so but that's the only sense that can wake us up. It is difficult. Without the ears, we cannot move forward, right?
And Twacham.
Tvachamasya vinirbinnam vivishuddhinsyam uddesare sena roma bipindam yena aso prapipadyate. When there was a separate manifestation of skin and the controlled details of the senses and their different parts entered into it, and thus the living entity feels itching and happiness due to touch. For sense perception, there are two principles, touching and itching, and both of them are controlled by the skin and hair of the body. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the controlling deities of the touch is the air passing within the body, and the controlling deities of the hair on the body is Oshadhya.
That's the trees.
For skin, the object of perception is touch, and for the hairs on the body, the object of perception is itching. Itching is because of the hairs. It's two separate. Next verse. Medram tasya vinirbinnam swadinsyam kapasvat veka samsena yesa swam anandam pravipadyate. When the genitals of the gigantic form separately became manifest, then Prajapati, the original living creatures, entered into them with the partial semen, and thus the living entities can enjoy sex pleasure. So Prajapati is the controller of this sex desire. Yeah. Gudam mumso vinirbinnam mitro lokesha avisat Vaishana amsena sau vigranam prapadyate. The evacuating channel separately becomes manifest, and the director named Mitra entered into the partial organ of evacuation. Thus the living entities are able to pass stool and urine. It's a difficult job. Right? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, Visargam means elimination of stool and urine. So the next section from 21 to 26 is like hands, legs, intelligence, heart, mind, and material ego and consciousness. These are described. Next. Hastasva asya vinirbinnam indrasva vavishat vatavya amchena purusho yaya vrittim prapadyate.
Hasta Indra, right?
Hasta. Thereafter, when the hands of the gigantic form separately become manifested, Indra, the ruler of the heavenly planet, entered into them, and thus the living entity is able to transact business with for his livelihood. So hands are for livelihood, legs are for traveling to different places. And if you remember, one time the purpose of leg was described in the, I think, last description in the second canto.
Tirthayatra.
Yes, that was discussed as Tirtha Yatra.
Yeah.
Going to the places of pilgrimage. Padavasya vinirbinnau lokesho vishnur avishat gatyasvam shena purusho yaya padyam prapadyate. Thereafter the legs of the gigantic form separately manifest, and the demigod's name Vishnu, not the personality of Godhead. Prabhupada clearly writes, his name is Vishnu, but he is not the personality of Godhead. Entered with partial movement. This helps the living entity to move to his destination.
प्रभु तो लिविंग एंटिटीज अभी विराट रूप के अंदर थोड़ी ना आएंगे।
गर्भोदक्ष है विष्णु।
हाँ, तो फिर जब ये कह रहे हैं कि ये डीटी वहां एंटर करी, मित्रा है, और जैसे ये अपना प्रजापतिज हैं एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स, तो वो विराट रूप की बॉडी में एंटर कर रहे हैं और कह रहे हैं नाउ द लिविंग एंटिटी कैन एंजॉय इट। व्हाट डज दैट मीन?
Because he is getting created. But now means when the later on the living entities will be given body, अभी तो living entities को body नहीं मिला है। ये विराट रूप का creation हो तो template हो जाएगा, then Brahma ji will appear. And then Brahma ji will meditate and he will go through the entire process. He goes through. And then he will be given direction by the Lord himself to create. So then he will manifest all the living entities from, most of the living entities from his body, and then he will take the helps of Prajapati to manifest even more living entities. Where they will
नहीं, तो वो अपनी बॉडी से कैसे करेंगे? लॉर्ड ब्रह्मा की बॉडी से थोड़ी ना अपीयर हुए हैं हम। ये टेम्पलेट है। हम तो नहीं, हम तो गर्भोदक्ष विष्णु की बॉडी से आएंगे ना।
We are there with it. हाँ, but physical form
नहीं है। बट द थिंग इज, हम कहाँ लॉर्ड ब्रह्मा जो है हमें बनाएंगे तो वो गर्भोदक्ष विष्णु की बॉडी से आएंगे ना, नॉट फ्रॉम लॉर्ड ब्रह्मा's बॉडी।
No, but it is like for example, Lord Shiva also comes from Lord Brahma's body, from his forehead. But Lord Shiva, so he in this world is appearing like that. So similarly, we are appearing in this world. We are
from Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma's body.
Okay.
The first time when the creation begins. I mean, when Brahmaji starts manifesting the living.
तो भी then विराट रूप के अंदर जो demigods हैं, how will they help the living entities?
Because they have created the entire template. Now those living, they will actually become multiple, and like Lord Agni is sitting in everyone's mouth. We are different, right? Living entities. So he is sitting in everyone's mouth. Agni is one, but he is expanding. He has been empowered to expand into multiple forms to be residing in everyone's mouth. So a service is given to them. What happened?
Sleep over.
Yeah. USB देवता एक बार
यूएससी देवता नाराज हो गए। आया?
माता जी क्वेश्चन मत पूछो, अभी देवता गुस्सा होगा। No, what did you do? Nothing.
No, I didn't
Change
change anything.
Yeah. अभी
Good. Okay, next is Buddhim Yasya Vinirbinnam Vagisho Bodhenam Sena Bodhavyam Prapatte. When the intelligence of the gigantic form separately became manifest, Brahma, the Lord of the Vedas, entered into it with the partial power of understanding, and thus the object of understanding is experienced by the living entities. So Brahmaji is the controller of the understanding. Buddhi is in this verse means the place where intelligence resides. One part of the heart, right? Vik Isha is Brahma. Bodhena means by intelligence. This verse is not accepted by all.
What was the verse? Why?
Okay, so this is the translation.
And the intelligence of the
When the intelligence of gigantic universal form separate, so basically intelligence is getting created, right? Then Brahmaji is the deity in charge. So Lord Brahma, the Lord of the Vedas, entered into it with the partial power of understanding. So with intelligence we understand, isn't it?
Yeah, understanding why any reason Vishwanath Shankar Thakur say it's not accepted by all, because without intelligence, Virat Rupa cannot create anything. So separately, Virat intelligence being manifested means what?
Yeah, so the many
बाकी सब इंटेलिजेंस की वजह से क्रिएट किया ना,
correct.
तो इंटेलिजेंस तो है ही ऑलरेडी.
But this is in the Virat Rupa, right?
Yeah, Virat Rupa, even the Lord's intelligence doesn't need to be, it's there already. It's creating it. The intelligence is creating all these elements.
That is Lord's intelligence. But in Virat Rupa, you need as a template, because your Virat Rupa is separate. Lord is here, Virat Rupa is here. In that Virat Rupa also you need intelligence, because that will be the template given to the living entities. On the basis of that, all the living entities will also get intelligence. So intelligence is needed. What is not accepted, of what I understood was, Bodhena means by intelligence, and this verse is not accepted by us. They are not accepting that Brahma is my understanding. Who is the controller of this? Brahmaji is not. That's what my understanding is. Or maybe they are not accepting the entire verse. Who knows? Only this much is given. Next. Hridayam chasya nirbinnam chandrama disyama vishat manasam sena yena sau vikriyam prapipadyate. After that, the heart of the gigantic form separately manifested itself, and into it entered the moon demigod. So heart means emotions, moon demigod who controls our emotions with partial mental activity. Thus, the living entity can conduct his mental speculation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, Vikriya means actions of the mind, such as determination. So that is the role of mind. Next. Atmanam cha nirbinnam abhimano avisarpadam karmanam sena yena sau kartavyam pratipadyate. Thereafter, the materialistic ego of the gigantic, so false ego is also created here. Materialistic ego of the gigantic form separately manifested in itself, and into it entered Rudra. So Lord Shiva is in charge of the false ego. Now this is more in details described in Brahma Samhita. When the creation happens, Lord Shiva's role and prayers that should be offered to Lord Shiva is also given there. He is the controller of the false ego with his own partial activities by which living entities transact their objective action. So Lord Shiva is the controller of false ego. The false ego of materialistic identity is controlled by the demigod Rudra, an incarnation of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva has 11 incarnation, 11 Rudra expansion in this material world. They are in various lokas, starting from the bottom of the universe, doing different functions. Rudra is the incarnation of Lord, the Supreme Lord, who controls the mode of ignorance within material nature. The activity of false ego are based on the objectives of the body and mind. Most persons conducted by the false ego are controlled by Lord Shiva. When one reaches a finer version of ignorance, he falsely thinks himself to be the Supreme Lord. So this is Mayavad. That egoistic conviction of the conditioned soul is the last snare of illusory individual by which controls illusion energy by which controls the entire material world. So the last level, the highest level of Maya is what? I am Bhagavan himself. And I want to become Bhagavan. And that is the Mayavad philosophy. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, Abhimana means he by whom one develops a sense of I. This is the deity Rudra. Karmana means by Ahankar, and Kartavyam means what one identifies with. Yeah. Verse 26. Sattvam cha asya vinirbinnam mahadishyam upavishat chittena amsena nena sau vijnanam pratipadyate. Thereafter, when the consciousness separately manifested itself, the total energy, Mahatattva entered with his conscious part. Thus, the living entity is able to conceive specific knowledge. So, Mahatattva, as we understood many times, Mahatattva is the source of the universal consciousness. So, you have universal consciousness, which is Mahatattva. You have universal part. Everything which is moving around in the universe is moving around with the universal prana, which is other name of universal prana is what? Do you recall? Mahatattva is universal consciousness. What is universal prana? Sutra Tattva, which is the second thing which is created. Right? First thing is Mahatattva, second thing, Mahatattva is predominant in the mode of goodness. The second thing that was created was Sutra Tattva, which is predominant in the mode of passion. So, generally, goodness means inactivity. They are satisfied. So, you need passion to work. So, therefore, from that, the passion was extracted. It's already there, it is just revealed. And that is Sutra Tattva. So, the next section is development of planet, living entities, and Varnas, 27 to 34. So 27 and 29 talks about development of planets and the living entities. So now this category is becoming a little bigger and bigger. So here you will see that now from the head, the sattva gun is from this portion. From the head portion, the sattva good, which is mode of goodness, is created. From the lower part, which is legs, the Rajoguna is created, and from the middle part is Bhuvarloka created. So that is described from 27 to 29. Okay. Shinuyasya dyurdhara padyam khamna bher udapadayat gunanam yeshu pratiyante suradya. Thereafter, from the head of the gigantic form, the heavenly planets were manifested, and from the legs, the earthly planets, and from his abdomen, the sky separately manifested themselves. Within them, the demigods and the other also were manifested in terms of the modes of material nature. Next. Atyantikena satvena devam deva pradipide taram raja swabhavena payo yemata. Demigods qualified by the super excellent qualities of the mode of goodness are situated in the heavenly planet, whereas the human beings, because of their nature in the mode of passion, they live in the earth in the company of their subordinates. In Bhagavad Gita also, urdham gachanti sattvastva, madhye tishtanti rajasa, jaganna guna vrittishta, and adho gachanti tamasa. So here Prabhupada is explaining or expanding that the different residences according to the modes of nature. Right? Those who are highly developed in the mode of goodness are promoted to the higher planetary. Uddham gachanti sattvastva. Right? Heavenly planetary system, and those who are overpowered by the mode of passion are situated in the middle planetary system, Madhya Tishtanti Rajasa, the Earth and similar planets. But those who are surcharged with the mode of ignorance are degraded to the lower planetary or to the animal kingdom. Jaganna guna vittista, right? Adho gachanti tamasa.
Tamasa.
The word Atyantika is very significant in this verse. By development of the mode of goodness of the material nature, one becomes situated in the heavenly planets. But by excessive development of the mode of passion and ignorance, the human beings indulges in killing of the animals who are meant to be protected by the mankind. Persons who are indulging in unnecessary killing, animal killing, have excessively developed the mode of passion and ignorance, have no escape or no hope of advancing in the mode of goodness. They are destined to be degraded to the lower status of life. The planetary systems are calculated as upper, lower, and lower in terms of the classes of living entities who live there. So, various according to the different modes, they are put into different locations. Tartiyena sabhavena bhagwan nibhir asita ubayorantaram vyoma ye rudra prasadam gana. Living entities who are in associates of, this is an interesting part. We have not heard about Rudra and Bhuvar Loka. So this part will cover that. Living entities who are associates of Rudra develop their third mode in the material nature or ignorance. They are situated in the sky between the earthly planet and the heavenly planets. Now we have not heard more about the residents of Bhuvar Loka. So the inhabitants of Bhuvar Loka are of different types. Bhuvar Loka is not like one area. It's like a whole planetary system. So there are various categories. When you see the diagram, it generally say it is a residence of bhutas and pisachas and all this. It's not. It's they are there also.
Charanas.
Ha. So there are various living entities. We are living in the Bhuvar Loka. So let's read this. What Srila Prabhupada is explaining in here. This middle portion of the sky is called as Bhuvar Loka. So whoever is chanting Gayatri, they know the first thing, right? The first mantra. So first three words, right? So that's a second, Bhuvar. The middle portion of the sky is called as Bhuvar, as confirmed by both Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that those who develop in the mode of passions are situated in the middle region. Those who are situated in the mode of goodness are promoted to the regions of the demigods, and those who are situated in the mode of passions are placed in the human society, and those who are situated in the mode of ignorance are placed in the animal and ghost society. Basically, there are no contradictions in this conclusion. So because sometimes you may feel who is staying in what planet. In same planetary system, you will find people of different natures also. There is no contradiction in the conclusion. Numerous living entities are distributed all the universe in different planets, and so are situated in terms of their own qualities and modes of nature. So just to give an idea, who is there in the Bhuvar planets? So the different kind of inhabitants in the Bhuvar Loka is these Gandharvas and Apsaras. They also stay in Bhuvar Loka in the region. What is they are celestial musicians and dancers who perform in the heavenly assemblies, like Apsaras.
तो वो
And
हेवन
the-
में नहीं रहती हैं इंद्रा के साथ?
They go there and for the performance, right? But then they have their home. So they live in the Bhuvar planets.
मैंने उसमें सुना था अमरेंद्र प्रभु को गजेंद्र के पास टाइम में उन्होंने पूरा मटेरियल यूनिवर्स क्रिएशन समझाया था. तो अर्थली प्लैनेट्स, देन ऊपर अपने नॉर्मल 14 प्लैनेटरी सिस्टम्स, नॉट 14 नहीं बताया उन्होंने.
14 तो टोटल है.
नहीं, मून सन
नक्षत्र.
नक्षत्र 7 प्लैनेट्स, उसके बीच में है शायद भूवर लोक. इज दैट करेक्ट? समवेयर लाइक दैट.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
I have
Because
it.
demigod planet is heavenly planet.
Yes.
उसके बीच में आ गया.
बीच में आ गया. Yeah. और उन्होंने वो भी बताया था कि पूरा लीफ है, कि इट इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ लीफ. लीफ की थिकनेस कितनी है. आई विल ब्रिंग माय नोट्स. उसमें मैंने सब लिखा हुआ है, तो मुझे याद
Yeah,
नहीं है.
please.
बट उसके अंदर पूरा उन्होंने बताया कि लीफ कहाँ पे है, अर्थ कहाँ पे है, एंड एवरीथिंग ही डिस्क्राइब्ड इट.
Nice. Yeah, please share.
तो मैं लिखती हूँ नेक्स्ट.
The next is the Siddhas and the sages. They are perfected mystic. They also stay in the Bhur area. They are advanced being possessing these 8 extraordinary mystic powers. Ashtanga Yoga, Ashta Siddhi. Yeah. including the ability to travel through the space. Then there are Charanas and Vidyadharas. So Charanas and Vidyadharas are glorifiers and scholars. They are expert in the secret art and mystical science who sings the glories of the Lord. But in the lower portion of the Bhuvarloka are these ghosts, Bhutas, Pisachas, and unseen subtle forms. They are also there. Right? Subtle entities dwelling in the lower atmosphere, generally invisible to ordinary human perceptions, like Bhutaganas. Right? Then they are all bound by, direction. They are all actually bound by the modes of material nature, whether in the Bhuvarloka, whether upper or lower within that. And then there are also Yakshas and Rakshasas. They are guardians, and opponents. Guardians means they are actually protecting the treasures of the Devatas. So Yakshas, they guard hidden treasures. The bank, we have the lockers, right? So Yakshas, they guard the hidden treasure. While Rakshasas are powerful beings, often inclined towards violence. So anyway, this realm is between the heaven and the earth. Here we see between the heaven and the earth. And then there is a pathway. So yogis, they know this pathway. The Bhuvarloka is a transitional atmospheric intermediate region. This is heaven, this is the earth, and which beach wala jo part hai, it is invisible. It is not visible through the normal eyes. Right. It connects the Bhuloka, which is earth, to the heaven loka, or which is the Swarga loka. Now, we may feel it is because for us it's all looks like empty, but actually it is densely populated. And it is a densely populated corridor of semi-divine species and mystics and subtle entities. It is far from being empty, like what we see. But every residence in this, they are all bound by the modes of material nature. Basically, they are very powerful. So despite their power, all Bhuvarloka residents remain subject to the birth, death, karma, old age, disease, everything. So this is some idea about who is there in the Bhuvarloka realm. And Mataji is going to get more details. So next time we'll learn about that. So the next from 27 to 34 is the development of planet, living entities and the Varnas. So the next section from 30 to 33 is talking about the Varnas. There are 4 different Varnas: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So Brahman is compared to the mouth of the Virat Rupa, and Kshatriyas are compared to the arms of the Virat Rupa, and similarly Vaishya is the thighs, and the Shudras are the legs. So this is what is described in the next 4 verses, 27 to 34. Mukato avatarat brahma pusha kuruda yastan mukhavad varnanam mukhyo abod brahmano guru. O chief of the Kuru dynasty, the Vedic wisdom became manifested from the mouth of the Virat, the gigantic form. Those who are inclined to this Vedic knowledge are called as Brahmanas, and they are natural teachers and spiritual masters of all orders of society. So, Srila Prabhupada in the purport discusses about the divisions of the living entity on the basis of guna and karma. Right? Chaturvarna Maya system, guna, karma, vipaka. So, somebody who is born in a Brahman family is not probably the Brahman, but they have to qualify themselves for becoming a Brahman. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, the 4 divisions of human society developed within the order of the body of the gigantic form. The body divisions are mouth, arm, waist, and legs. Those who are situated in the mouth are called as Brahmanas. Those who are situated in the arms are Kshatriyas. Those who are situated in the waist are called as Vaishyas. And those who are situated on the legs are called as Shudra. Everyone is situated in the body, of the Supreme in his gigantic Vishwarupa form. In terms of the 4 orders, therefore, no caste is considered degraded. This is very important. In the terms of 4 orders, therefore, no caste is to be considered degraded because of being situated on a particular part of the body. In our own bodies, we do not show any actual difference in our treatment towards the hands or the legs. Each and every part of the body is important, although the mouth is the most important of the bodily part. Sometimes Prabhupada says the brain or the head is it, but mouth in these terms to eat. Brahmanically, yeah. If other parts are cut off from the body, man can man can continue to live or continue his life. But if the mouth is cut off, one cannot live because the source of energy is mouth. Therefore, this this is the most important part of the body of the Lord, is called as the sitting place of the Brahmanas, who are inclined to the Vedic wisdom. One who is not inclined to the Vedic wisdom but to mundane affairs cannot be called as Brahmana, even if he is born in the Brahmana family or a father. Right? To have a Brahmana father does not qualify one has to be a Brahmana. This main qualification is Brahmana to be inclined to the Vedic wisdom. The main qualification of Brahmana is to be inclined to the Vedic wisdom, having the taste towards learning the Vedas. Right? Vedas are situated in the mouth of the Lord, and therefore anyone who is inclined to the Vedic wisdom is certainly situated in the mouth of the Lord. He is the Brahmana. This is inclination towards the Vedic wisdom and is also not restricted to any particular caste or community. Anyone from any family or from any part of the world may become inclined to the Vedic wisdom, and that will qualify him as a real Brahmana. So therefore we have this Pancharatrika Vidhi and we qualify a devotee as a Brahmana, where Prabhupada is giving in ISKCON, right? Real Brahmana is a natural teacher or a spiritual master. Unless one has Vedic knowledge, one cannot become spiritual master. The perfect knowledge of the Vedas is to know the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is the end of Vedic knowledge or Vedanta. Vedescha sarvera aham vedya. One who is situated in the impersonal Brahman and has no inclination to the Supreme Personality of God and may become a Brahmana, but he cannot become a spiritual master. Amazing. Right? One who is situated in the impersonal Brahman,
means only devotee
yes,
can be a spiritual master.
spiritual master, Guru. It is said in Padma Puran, Satkarma Nipuno Vipro Mantra Tantra Visarada Avaishnavar Guru na Sasyad Vaishnava Swa Pacho Guru. That's very, very important. I think this is a reference.
Srila Prabhupada has said that in this Kali Yuga, everyone is a Shudra, right? Is that true? I've heard from various. Okay.
Yes. Everyone is born as Shudra. Right? So everyone is born as Shudra, and then by qualification one can become Brahmana. Because Shudra means they are lacking in knowledge. So even somebody is born in a Brahmana family is as good as Shudra because he is not trained yet. But that person has opportunity to become Brahmana. He has more opportunity than most of the people because his Jati is Brahmana, first of all. Jati is where he is born, right? So his Jati is Brahmana, and then because of taking birth in a Brahmana family, he has more opportunity to become a Brahmana compared to others. Other has to qualify. Then they have to go through the training. Of course, this person also has to go through the training. But he has more opportunity. Like a person born in a doctor's family or a lawyer's family, then he has all the help and support to become a doctor or a lawyer. The same way with the Brahmana. Thank you for asking, Prabhu, and nice to see you.
Thanks.
An impersonalist can become a qualified Brahmana but cannot become a spiritual master unless and until he is promoted to the stage of Vaishnava or a devotee of the personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya, the great authority of Vedic wisdom in the modern age, stated, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nasi, Sudra Kenana, Ye Krishna Tattva Veta, Se Guru Hai. A person may be a Brahmana or a Shudra or a sannyasi, but if he happens to be well versed in the science of Krishna, then he is fit to become a spiritual master. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 8:128. The qualification then of a spiritual master is not to be qualified Brahmana, but to be well versed in the science of Krishna. One who is conversant with Vedic wisdom is a Brahmana, and only a Brahmana who is pure Vaishnava and knows all the intricacies of the science of Krishna can become a spiritual master. There's a lot of discussion in these, the first verse of Nectar's instruction, right? Vacha Vegam, Manasa. These are the qualifications. Racha Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Upastha Vegam. One who has control, then that person can become or can accept disciples all over the world and become the spiritual master guru. बहुभ्यो अवर्त क्षत्रम क्षत्रियस्तद अनुव्रत यो जातस्त्रयते वर्णम पौरुष कंटक शतात. So now it is about the Kshatriyas. Thereafter, the power of protection generated from the arms of the gigantic Virat form. And in relation to such power, the Kshatriyas also came into existence. By following the Kshatriya principle of protecting society from the disturbance of thieves and miscreants. So their role is protection. So these are the qualities of, Prabhupada explains, qualities of Kshatriyas. I have not gone into details of this because we have studied this. Yeah, I think it's mostly which is covered. We have studied this, so I'm just skipping this particular purport. Next verse. विशो अवरन्तन्त तस्योर् लोकावृत्ति करेर्विभु वैश्यस्तदुपौ वर्तं निडम्य समवर्तयात्. The means of livelihood of all persons, namely the production of grains and their distributions to the prajas, was generated from the thighs of the Lord, this gigantic form. The mercantile men who take charge of such execution are called as Vaishyas. So basically, Vaishyas also power protection, tax collection, and all these things are given. So these are the qualities of Vaishnava. Prabhupada,
they pay taxes.
Yeah, they actually maintain all the other part of the society. The Kshatriyas, they collect taxes and they pay taxes, and they also maintain the Brahmanas. Formerly, the Brahmanas were given all kind of necessities of life by the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas because they had no time to spend making a living. The Kshatriyas would collect taxes from the Vaishyas and Shudras, but the Brahmanas were exempt from paying income tax or land revenue. That system of human society was so nice that there was no political, social, and economic upheaval. The different caste or varnas classification and the different caste or varnas classifications are therefore essential for maintaining peaceful human society. Last verse for today. Padabhyam bhagavato jadne sushrusha dharma siddhe tadnyata puro sudra yadritya tushyate hari. Thereafter the service, so this is an important purport. Thereafter the service was manifested from the legs of the personality of Godhead for the sake of perfecting the religious functions. Situated on the legs are Shudras, who satisfy the Lord by service. So, service generally we equate with, when the Varnashram is coming, we equate with the Shudras. However, Srila Prabhupada as well as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur brings in a point which is really, really important. Service is a real constitutional occupation of all beings actually. Like Dasya Ras is the base of all the rasas, all the other four rasas, right? Or other three. So similarly, service is meant for everybody. Service is the real constitutional occupation of the living entities. The living entities are meant to render service to the Lord, and they can attain religious perfection by the service attitude. One cannot attain religious perfection simply by speculating to attain theoretical knowledge. The knowledge has to convert into service. The Jnani is division of spiritualists going on speculating only to distinguish the soul from the matter. But they have no information of the activities of the soul after being liberated by the knowledge. It is said that the person who only mentally speculates to know things as they are and who do not engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord are simply wasting their time. So, knowledge needs to be converted into seva. It is clearly said here that the principle of service was generated from the legs of the Lord for the sake of perfecting the religious process. But this transcendental service is different from the idea of service in the material world. In the material world, no one wants to be a servant. Everyone wants to become master because of the false mastership is the basic disease of the conditioned soul. Right. We become controller, proprietor, and enjoyer, and that is an enjoying tendency, but we need to transform this to a service attitude. The conditioned soul in the material world wants to lord it over others. Illusioned by the external energy of the Lord, he is forced to become a servant of the material world. That is the real position of the conditioned soul. The last snare of the illusory external energy is the conception of becoming one with the Supreme Lord. Again, Mayavad. And due to this conception, the illusioned soul remains in bondage of the material energy, falsely thinking himself as a liberated soul, as good as Narayan. In actuality, now this is the important crux. In actuality, it is actually better to be a Sudra than to be a Brahmana. Why? And not develop the service attitude, because this attitude alone satisfies the Lord. Every living being, even if he being a Brahmana by qualification, must take to understood the transcendental service of the Lord. Both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam supports that this service attitude is the perfection of living entity. A Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Sudra can perfect his occupational duties only by rendering service unto the Lord. So all have to serve actually. A Brahmana is supposed to know this fact due to his perfection in Vedic wisdom. The other sections are supposed to follow the direction of a Brahmana, Vaishnava. One who is a Brahmana by qualification and Vaishnava by action. That will make the entire society perfect in regards to the order of the social construction. A disordered society cannot satisfy either the member of the society of the Lord, even if one is not perfect, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Sudra, but takes to the service of the Lord, not caring for the perfection of the social position. He becomes perfect human being simply by developing the attitude of service to the Supreme Lord. Wonderful purport. Amazing. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, nails down, hammers and nails down.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any comments, any thoughts?
So
Discussion?
Dharma, everything is
Is
basically are all created at the beginning only.
Yeah.
The template is created at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then the Brahma has to just follow that.
Follow the template. That's it. Simple. That's that. And then, therefore, this 34th onwards, I think this is where. Okay, so next verse is talking about the role of the role of guru. That how these things are created, but one has to take shelter of a guru in order to understand this. All these varna has to take shelter of the guru and then purify themselves and then go back home. That's our ultimate goal. So we'll start with 34 next week. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Anipo. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.